week, we are reviewing Dragon Ball Sparking Zero and discussing Iron Game of the Year picks so far, because this is the Nerd Cave News, and I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined by the bearded sultan himself, Derek Daniel. Derek, how's it going, my man?
Man, it's going fantastic, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. This is our first time
Review.
doing something a little different.
Yeah.
On the stream. First review, because we've usually did a review like by itself.
Right.
So I'm excited.
Instead of like the normal news, which it's been a light news week, so we picked a good week to do this on. Sparking Zero, and it's our first game review. Hopefully not our last one.
Exactly, because we sat down when you were in town and we discussed, it was like, hey, we wanted to do more reviews because we do about 2 a year when it really gets down to it.
And it's mainly stuff like we're super excited for, like mainly PlayStation, but whatever game that really amps us up, and it's just like Ghost of Yote next year is a given.
Yeah, 1000%. Definitely going to be happening. So I'm excited about that. Tonight, Amy's hyping it up. Review. Oh, that's different.
Oh,
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They've changed some things on StreamYard, so things are a little different.
I like the little text bubbles, but you know what? Like anything else, we'll get used to it.
I changed it back. Back. I like the text bubbles as well. Let's see. Boom. Yeah, I like that.
There we
go.
Way
cleaner. It looks like what we do here.
Right.
Guys, I'm excited because this episode is brought to you by the Epic Game Store, and you can support us there by using creator code NerdCave at checkout and our wonderful patrons, but more about that later. Derek, I know we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Super Sparking Zero. I'm over in Anime Land.
And I'll say, yeah.
I got a little game today.
Oh, okay.
I bought a little game over on Steam to play on my Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say, don't bury the lead there. I'll say you got a Steam Deck finally.
I got a Steam Deck. I got the OLED version. Found it on Facebook Marketplace.
Nice.
Got it for a pretty decent price because they're usually around. Like I got the mid tier, like the 512 gigabytes or whatever, and I can put a terabyte or more in there if I want to down the road. But it goes for about like, with tax and all that, it's gonna be like over 600. But I got it for like 450. Just boom, cash, taking care of business. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
taking care of business. So every day, I've got to figure out like the whole logging in and playing like my PlayStation on it, because that's one of the big reasons I got it is to be able to play. I wanted a Portal, but this is like the
next best thing.
I think it's a better thing because I can actually play real games. But I got Neva.
Okay, I know which one you're talking about. I forget how it's pronounced, but I think it's Neva.
Yeah, like she says it in the game. I can't remember. I played a little bit of it today. Yeah, every day Zach has been saying, "Did you know I got a Stream Deck?" Yeah, Steam Deck, not a Stream Deck, a Steam Deck. Yeah, she got it right. But yes, I do have a Steam Deck, and it's so nice, dude. Like the OLED is crispy. But yeah, I started playing it. Pretty basic mechanics in the game, but I can see it definitely getting harder down the road. You can play it in 2 different ways where it's like you've got combat and you've got health, or you can just play it as you want the story. The nice thing is if I let it upload my cloud save, I can literally jump on my computer and play right where I left off, which is fantastic. It's my plan for Dragon Age the Velguard to do it that way.
Yeah.
That's why I was texting
You're
and asking
it with it.
Yeah, that's why I was texting you and asking, and it's been Steam Deck verified. And I was like, all right, if Derek's not going to play this, I'm going to get it on Steam and do it that way. Because that way, like when I'm not at my desk, because another thing, and we're getting to the review here, guys. I know you're champing at the bit here, but one of the reasons is like when I play games, I come into the studio and then I'm not getting to hang around Amy. You know what I mean? Like she's reading her book and everything, and I like being able to come in and play. But there's times I just want to be by my wife. You know what I mean? Be my wife.
What a crazy concept to say as a husband, right?
You know, it is kind of crazy, but yeah, so that way I can at least play something, because like bringing the PlayStation out there and playing on the TV is nice and all. It just doesn't feel right when I'm used to the screen literally like less than a foot away from me,
right?
Playing a game. That's I've been, you know, I've been changed by that over the years of streaming and everything. But yeah, I'm looking forward to next Thursday is when
Spoopy Day.
Yeah, Spoopy Day. And yeah, we'll get into housekeeping later, but one housekeeping thing after this, we're going to be going live for about 30-ish minutes and talking about Vinland Saga over on patreon.com/nerdcave. For all the people that support us over there on one of our tiers, we're gonna be chatting, and we're gonna be talking about Vinland Saga.
You get a double dose tonight, guys.
You're getting a double dose. And yesterday we put out our review of episode 1 of Dragon Ball Daima. So you all should go check that out as well. But Derek, it is time for our Dragon Ball Sparking Zero review. We played for the last few weeks since launch. We got it on early access as well. Derek, let's jump into this. Okay. What are your thoughts? What has been mulling around while you think about Dragon Ball?
So the more I've been playing it, the more because it popped in my head today. Because I had played some different things yesterday. Like I did the tournament mode, which was different. I did through all the tournaments, you know, like because some of them have different rules and regulations. Yep. The Yamcha tournament is definitely different, and you know, and I must say, and it's like random. And of course, I faced Yamcha of course, in the finals. I'm like, okay, just like Cell, I faced him in the finals of the Cell games one. I'm like, it's only appropriate. But the team-based ones were intriguing, especially the what was it, the universal survival one, where like once you get knocked out, you're out for the rest of the tournament. It's all different, and you know, it kind of like thinking about that gameplay style yesterday more so evoked what I feel like happened a few months ago, which was I feel like this is NCAA. Like obviously Sparking Zero, like obviously like this iteration has come back after years of being on hiatus. We've gotten like kind of likes, like, you know, with like Kakarot and Xenoverse and whatnot, but we haven't gotten a true like Budokai Tenkaichi fighting game in a long time. And I feel like this is very similar trajectory to with what happened with NCAA or college football, if you will, and in the sense of, you know, it came back, it did some things, like obviously the roots are there, the nostalgia is there, like people, like just like with college football, like booted it up, like immediately people are just like going crazy. Like the game had already moved, what was it, like 3 million units, like in like before even official launch day, I think it was, or they had moved a lot of units like in the early access period. So it the nostalgia factors there, like I was just like college football. I saw it was like a lot of highlights, a lot of people. Then, of course, I started seeing like the broke stuff come out. You know what I mean? Like how there were certain players in college football, like Jalen, like the quarterback for Alabama. Like he was like Michael Vick, the second coming of Michael Vick. You know what I mean? Like you just couldn't get him down no matter how many defenders you sent him. This one in Sparking Zero is Yajirobe. Like apparently, like he is broke all get out, and I don't understand why. I get because he's probably the most irrelevant character in all of the series. They had to do something different with him, but don't make him OP. So
the whole reason why he's overpowered is because he has a sensu bean, and if he pops the sensu bean, he goes back to full health.
Oh, that's broke.
yeah. So he could literally be almost dead, pop the sensu bean, and then he has full bars of health again.
Is that one of his charge moves?
Yeah, that's where no, not one of the, it's like where it costs like the points that you get in the corner.
Got you. Like the directional, like one of the the left or right. Yeah.
But I think it costs like 5. But if you're not, but they've already they've already like nerfed him a little bit.
Oh yeah,
So
I saw that today. They went ahead and dropped a nerf for him. But
yeah,
still, the fact of the matter remained, like like you just like they nerfed a bunch of people in college football. But to me, I feel like Sparking Zero, like to kind of bring this to a head here, Sparking Zero is definitely, I feel like, more polished in senses than college football was, just because like this, like while it's been dormant for a while, it wasn't like the rights were gone. Like the people who made this, or like the company, because Bandai Namco, obviously they're in a state of flux right now as is, but still,
yeah.
They never lost the rights to it, like a la EA with college football. So it's not like they're starting over from scratch. They're just being like, all right, we've done Dragon Ball games, obviously, in between these periods. Let's just go back and polish our Budokai Tenkaichi chops, sort of thing. So I do feel like it is definitely more polished than college football, but I do think there's still some stuff to be desired. Like I didn't ever mess around with the customization. Like I know there's a shop where you can buy like power-ups and stuff like that. I never really messed with that. I do like the fact of the alternate timeline stuff, like the what if sort of things. Like I do think that is unique and different. So, but again, like we talked about earlier, and I know you played the tutorial and it opened up a lot of things, I know, and I discovered something too, like depending on your energy gauge, you can keep hit, like, how you do the once you get a combo going and you do the air volley, you can keep hitting triangle, and depending on your energy, you can keep volleying them in the air. So that was cool to find out. So you can just keep doing repeated damage. But no, overall, I think it's a much better polished thing, but there's still some things they need to work on.
Yeah, I want to see, like, I know the locations in Dragon Ball are kind of basic, if you will.
Right.
Like you've got the World Tournament, you've got the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, you've got the rocks where you fight Vegeta, and then the grasslands where you fight Raditz, and then you have Namek.
All right, I'll say the many hills of Namek.
Yeah, I would love to see some more areas included. Just to vary it up. Like, yes, we got because I played through the Majin Buu arc on stream Tuesday, and you do get the land of the Kais, but I would love to see, I'm sure, like, I haven't got to Super yet, but I'm sure we'll get, Beerus' planet and everything.
Yeah.
But I would love to see some different things, maybe like where Goku fights Cooler with like the waterfall. That would be an awesome thing.
Yeah.
Bring in the Tree of Might to fight.
Yeah. Because you have Turles in there.
Yeah, you've got Turles. Even that city that you fight like Lord Slug in, because he's also in there. Or like the Dr. Riro's like his lab and everything. Those would be some really cool additions for levels in the game. I think that is something that is limiting, with that. One thing that is awesome I played around with is the custom battles.
Okay.
Is going, like, I jumped in. I played some that was already included, where like Cell comes back and then Goku and Cell fight Deborah, Babidi, and then Majin Buu.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. But there's a lot of different ones in there, and then you have the community making ones as well. One was I played the other night, Yamcha fighting Jiren in the Tournament of Power.
That was a 1-hit KO, I'm sure.
No, like I beat Jiren with Yamcha. Yeah,
oh boy.
And it wasn't like Yamcha wasn't souped up or anything, and Jiren wasn't like nerfed. Like I was like, it took me 2 times to beat him, but yeah, like I was able to beat Jiren with Yamcha. I'm just like, all right. So like they've got those, and then they've got some, if that wasn't silly enough, they've got where Hercule or Mr. Satan is an unstoppable character.
Yes, I've seen that too, because it's like the present for you move.
Well, not just that, but you will beat him and then he will power up and revive and have all of his health bars. Like I beat him, gosh, I don't even know how many times, like 4 or 5. No, it was at least 10 times. And every time I knock him down, he'd get back up in health. And I had Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta.
Oh no.
And it was just like, okay, this is hilarious, but I don't want to spend all stream just fighting Hercule the whole time. But okay, so I think they did a really, really good job with the game. But at the same time, I haven't like fully really loved the game.
True. Yeah, like I get what you mean, because when I do boot it up and I play it, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Just like I said, I went through all the different tournaments yesterday, enjoyed my time with it. But then when I shut it off, it's just like, and then like the next day rolls around, I'm just like, there's no enthrall to like boot it up. Like I just have to play this, like sure. Like, and it wasn't like I was treating it as like, oh, I got to play it for the review type thing. I'm just like, sure. Let me play something different, because I've been on a Ghost of Tsushima binge lately, and I've been just wanting to get through that and just other things. But it was just like now granted, this is much better than Star Wars Outlaws, but it was like Star Wars Outlaws felt like a chore. Like, I'm like, I don't really want to, like, I'm done with this. Like I've seen all I need to see. Where Sparking Zero was like, cool, I want to have my fun. And it's kind of like, again, I'm going to probably make this comparison the whole review, like college football. Like I played it religiously. Now, granted, I feel I got more enthralled to play college football than Sparking Zero, but like I played it hardcore for like 2-3 weeks. Then I put it down, and now it's just like occasionally, like I'll get that itch, but like I'm not dying to play college football. Like with Sparking Zero, like there's no like, and I don't know if it's like maybe because we're older, we have different things. Like there's no like for me, it's like I don't feel like there's an objective. Like of course there's a story with the alternate, but it's of course again it's a story we all know, just with a few tweaks here and there if you meet certain requirements. And then like the custom battles are, it's fun, like the Yamcha tournament, and like what your experiences with the custom battles, like they're fun. They're like nice little like water cooler moments just to like laugh about. But again, like where's the drive to play it? You know what I mean? Because if we now maybe if we were competitive and we like played online religiously, maybe that's a different thing. But like I don't know. Like I get what you're saying though.
Yeah. And like I know people that have put 80 hours in. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, yeah, I dropped 80 hours on Sparking Zero already. And I was just like, wow, whoa, that's crazy to me. But like I'm not saying that to detract from it, because this is a game that both of us, but I know I was really like excited to get into this game and play it and experience it. And it might be some of the barrier to entry is the combat. When I learned a little bit more, I did enjoy more, because I remember the first time we talked about it on NerdCave News I was like, yeah, I don't know if I like this. But I've learned a little bit more and I have enjoyed it. And I think the biggest thing with the story, I want to go into the episode side of it, because you start out with Goku and you pretty much stay with Goku majority of the time, and then you can hop between the different characters, which I like that you get to play with as Frieza and you get to play as Goku Black later on, if you do so choose. But for somebody that doesn't know what Dragon Ball Z is, like Joe Cool was in the show Tuesday, he was like, I don't know what's going on, because it's jumping around and it does kind of fill things in, but there's not enough context for people that don't know what the story is.
Right. Like what I talked about last week, I played the Vegeta story and they just skipped the Dodoria fight. Like for someone like you don't know like the fight, and then like Zarbon, they kind of gloss over, like you fight him in the beginning, but then it's like you don't fight him again like in his transformed state, so you don't get that like struggle that Vegeta went with, where Zarbon transformed, beat Vegeta within an inch of his life, and then Vegeta came back and then ended up beating Zarbon in his transformed state. Like you don't get that context. So I totally agree. They just assume that you just have watched the show religiously, watch Super, like you're pretty much like they almost treating it like this game is supposed to be for the Dragon Ball like mega fans, and it's like, all right, you already know this, like you know what it is, and it's like. While that may be true, you still need to give in like an inch to like the newcomers or people who maybe just started Dragon Ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this might be someone's entry into the franchise. And the way the other ones have gone, where it goes through the whole entire story and you're switching to, from Goku to Piccolo to Gohan to, like Kakarot, I think it did really good job of, you know, the story side of it. It was much more RPG. But this one, even as a fan, like, and knowing everything, it's like, okay, like I'm not really paying attention much, and it's just like, okay, now we're fighting again. I'm literally like speeding through some things to get to the next fight. But jumping all over the place, I think, does detract from the overall story.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like, do you really want to play through every single thing again?
Right.
So, like, if you want that, I guess some people would be like, well, go play Kakarot or go play the other ones. Like, I'm about to start the super side of it and see how that goes. But I think I'm wondering, like, are we going to do, because the Destroyers tournament is in the tournament list and everything.
Right.
Which I played I had Teen Gohan, I had like Super Goku, I had like, there was all Saiyans. I didn't even get past Teen Gohan. Nobody even knocked Teen Gohan out.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, Teen Gohan's a beast. But like, even like the Cell Saga, going through the Cell Saga, and you're not jumping in and playing as Gohan, it felt really hollow.
Yeah. So I don't know. They do take some liberties. Again, obviously they're treating it as like, oh, you already know the story. We're going to gloss over some of the less important ones. But again, like with Vegeta, you're going to skip Dodoria and put in and fight with Kui. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, I don't want to say there's no consistency, but it's like, what was the thought process on how you go about, like, and again, I know, like you said, there's like some storylines that cross over with each other. That's like, why didn't this happen? Or why did they gloss over this? But, oh, they might touch on this if you progress further with this character or whatnot. And again, like, but like, I'm not saying you need to include every battle with the same characters. Cause it's like, all right. Cause you know, some character, like Raccoon fought several of the Z fighters. Frieza fought several of the Z fighters. I'm not saying as Piccolo, you need to fight Frieza just like with Vegeta and with, you know, Gohan. It's like, okay, we get it. You know, Frieza's going to be tough no matter who you play as. But, you know, just be more consistent with how you portray each individual. If you're going to do several character storylines, do them all like the same and give them the same love that you would as Goku.
Yeah, and like, because Goku is the main character, you definitely do get more of his story compared to, you know, a Piccolo or something like that. And I have not touched Vegeta's or Gohan's story.
Yeah.
Or like, is Piccolo one of the characters you can play?
I don't think so, but
okay. So no, you can play as Piccolo. Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay.
I remember now. But like with Vegeta, like I understand Kui to a percentage, because like Kui and him like kind of butted heads. I remember there's a specific scene they're walking past each other.
Yeah.
And like they're like, Kui is just a little bit stronger than Vegeta at that point.
Right.
But that's before he goes to Earth, and then he goes to Earth and comes back and all of this. So it was like that moment of like, yeah, that's important. But Dodoria, I feel, is a bigger stretch because he would have been way out of Vegeta's league at that point.
Right.
And
so,
like, there was one, because when I fought Jace and Burter, I knocked out Jace. So Burter was with Captain Ginyu instead of Jace in that fight.
Interesting.
So I thought that was pretty cool that like they would replace it and didn't just, you know, fill it in like the show. I did think that was a pretty awesome way of doing it. And there's been just, you know, some here or there kind of things with the game, but the androids, like I went and I defeated Cell instead of going in the hyperbolic time chamber. And then from that point, defeating Cell, then I fought Android 18, I fought Android 17, and then I fought Android 16, because he wouldn't let it go that he was, you know, he was built to kill me.
I must kill Son Goku.
Exactly. And then I beat him, and then it was like, yeah, we're good. And then they like left, and it was like, and Goku saved the day. Like they were like, oh, you're not that bad of a dude, and Goku's like, you aren't bad people either. And then that was the end of that branch, which I thought was a really cool way of doing it. And that's the only one that I've gotten so far, because some of them are a little weird to get to pop. Like you've got to defeat Raditz like super quickly to get like something to branch off. And I haven't got the where Goku goes Super Saiyan against Vegeta.
Oh.
Yeah, did you not know that one?
No, I didn't know that one. That's cool.
Yeah, so if somehow
like the first time,
yes,
like
the first time on
Saga.
Earth, yes.
Wow.
If I'm wondering if you can switch to Krillin. If Krillin gets killed, then Goku loses it and he turns Super Saiyan early. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think that's the thing that is cool about the game, is that you can have all these branching things, but it does feel time consuming. But at the same time, you want a game to be like worth the amount of money you pay for it.
Right.
And it's like, I can't knock it for, it's like, okay, things are kind of drawn out.
Right.
But you know what I mean? But then it's like, well, some things are cut away too quickly.
Well, right. Well, and it's like, it's just like watching anime. You know what I mean? Like there's this really cool fight that they build up, and then it's all of a sudden it's done in like an episode, if that. And you're like, all right, this is disappointing. And then it's like you're talking about like they just kind of bluff it out. It's like, that's filler, man. Like it's like, we're catching up to the manga. Let's put a couple let's put 20 episodes of filler to bluff it out, so we don't immediately have to stop production.
Yeah. And the combat, let's talk about some gameplay stuff, because I feel like we've focused a lot on episode combat. I feel like is pretty in depth.
Yes,
like the abilities that you have, the clash battles, like all of the things that are in there. If you go through the tutorial, and I feel like I need to just go through the tutorial several times, and like be like, okay, I'm going to apply this new technique into my fights, because I did that a little bit, but I went through the whole tutorial and I'm like, I just too much information, I don't remember all the buttons. But being able to take small things and bring them into actual fights, just kind of like Goku training, essentially.
Right.
Like there's a lot to it, and it's not to this level of where like Fighter Z was. Like it, that fighter side, the side scroller and all of that, you know, Street Fighter people, that's not my jam. Like this kind of gameplay is my jam. But I feel like a lot of the times I just go back to punch, knock them away.
Charge up, maybe fire off a few key blasts, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
especially when things are getting desperate, like when they just railed off a combo on you, and it's like, all right, got it. You just like, it's like that flight or fight mode. It's like, all right, back to basics,
Yeah, it's like everything's out, like where we got to get this to happen. I don't want to have to replay this, especially because some of the fights, like with Frieza, Han, Piccolo, and Vegeta, all in one fight, and if you die from any of them, you start back over. So and I was choosing to not transform. I was seeing if I could do it in base form Frieza. I almost got to the I was wondering, I was like, maybe this is one of those splits, but it wasn't. But yeah, like I feel like there is a lot to the combat that I don't fully understand. And that's a really cool thing as well, because going back to college football, there's a lot of different new things that they've added into the game that I don't fully understand either. But it's like, if you get to that point, the gameplay opens up a lot more.
True. So and it's sort of like it's sort of like real life, right? Like it's almost like playing an RPG. Once you learn a new life skill, you try and adapt it into your everyday life, and that's just like the thing with video games. Once you learn a skill, like especially in fighting games, like this is huge in like the fighting game community. Like once you master like these very technical abilities, like you're unstoppable, and that's what sets you apart from a lot of like the Joe Blows. That's why like when you get on there and like people just hand you your butt, you're like, man, they're all about this game. Like they're sweaty boys. Whereas like if just you and me are playing, it's like, yeah, I'll say it's a little bit even, but that's also because we're not experts either.
Yeah. Well, I jumped on to an online match. I did a few of them.
Okay.
And man, I came in with who was I was playing as Goku in Super, and dude was playing as Raccoon. Literally wrecked me. And I'm just like, all right. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick somebody else. And then who did I play as next? I don't even remember who I played as, but yeah, wrecked me again. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm done playing online mode. And this dude was like a rank D. He was like the same rank as me, but they were just blowing me up. So it's like, okay, there's definitely a level of difficulty that I am not grasping
right, for sure.
on that. But I do think there is a weird thing, like sometimes the computer is absolutely merciless and will pummel you into the ground
for sure,
and then other times it is an absolute joke and there's no in between.
I experienced this when I played some of the tournaments, right? So like the tournaments aside, like the way they do the brackets is weird because they had my first tournament, I had like a bunch of like heavy hitters and then Cell Jr. and I ended up facing Cell Jr. in the finals. I'm like, how? Like there's people way more powerful than them, but like it and also like to your point though, it's sort of like I'll play like a strong character like Janimba, like powered up, right?
Yep.
And he'll just stand there like a statue, and I'll just be the one to throw the first punch and just start wailing on him. Then there's other characters like you wouldn't expect, like Videl or Yajirobe or Yamcha, that you're like, all right, I'm gonna get in the first punch, and they just all of a sudden like start firing off key blasts, like teleporting, like follow you around. I'm like, who is this?
Who are you?
Right.
You don't act like this.
No.
Yeah, and it's like Sfertle or whatever his name is, the one that beats up Videl. Like Spopovich. Like I remember playing him in a tournament. Dude, like almost beat me. Like he was wrecking me. And it was just like, what is this? This is not canon. This is not canon. So like I do think it is a good game.
Right.
I know Murdoch was asking me Tuesday. He was like, I like Dragon Ball Z. Is this a game worth getting at full price? And that's kind of a hard question to answer because it's like, well, how much do you really like Dragon Ball Z?
Right.
And I feel like that is more of the question for anybody that hasn't already gotten. It's like, how much do you really like Dragon Ball Z? Because if you're not a super fan, if you're not like, this really gets your engine revving.
Right.
I don't think the game is for you, especially at $70. Maybe,
right.
At Christmas, it'll go down to like $40.
Yeah.
Then I definitely think it's a deal. But if you are a big fan of Dragon Ball, it's a game that you need to play.
Right.
I do think that.
And it's the same thing with like college football, right? Like if you're a huge fan, like whether you've been waiting for it since NCAA 13, 11 years ago, or you just really enjoy college football and just want something to play other than Madden every year, like sure, get it. But not to go down a rabbit hole, you can make a case for this at any game. Like with the way things are in the world and whatnot, like $70 is more precious than anything nowadays. So it's like you gotta pick and choose what to spend your money on. And now with more games that are coming out every year, it's like it's becoming an even harder question. It's like, is this worth at full price? It's like it's so much more subjective than it ever was. So, but I think your analysis is you hit it on the head where it's like, all right. And you can, again, make a case for any game. It's like, if you're a super fan, whether it's like like Dragon Age the Veilguard, I'm sure people will be asking next week when it comes out, oh, is it going to be worth full price? It's like, well, if you love every game that you played in the series up to this point, then get it, like pay full price for it. However, if this is going to be your first Dragon Age game, wait a minute, like look at reviews, like watch gameplay vids, see if it's for you. And if you are hesitant to pull the trigger at 70, then maybe wait for a sale. You know what I mean? So you hit it spot on. It's like, what's is it worth paying full price? Well, that's up to you. That's your money. You know, you got them. As long as you got money to put food on the table, keep your lights on and all that, sure, spend that $70. It's your money, whatever. But if you want to be smart, it's like, just wait. Like, just survey your surroundings.
Yeah, it's like, see what matters the most to you, because there's a plethora of games that have come out already this year that are amazing, that are about to come out that are going to be really good. But if you are really big into Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, GT, whatever, Daima, which we got in there as well now, it's like, if you are big into that, then yeah, I feel like it's a no-brainer. But it's like, your finances need to line up before you pull the trigger on this, because the last time we got a Budokai was October 4th, 2007. It's been over 17 years ago
boy,
since we got a Tenkaichi. And yes, we've got Xenoverse. I do not count Xenoverse 1 and 2 as anywhere close to this. It felt so different compared to these. But I do think this is a solid game. And I do think if you are big into anime and, you know, fighting games, and especially Dragon Ball, this is something that you should check out eventually. If you have the money right now and you feel good about it, go ahead and get it. But for me, it hasn't scratched the itch that I thought it was going to. And I feel like it also might be unfair to the game, because I'm expecting to be junior year of high school is when that came out. The last one. It's like, you know, where was I in that point in time? Where was my mind? All of these things. I didn't have all these responsibilities. But it's like, okay, I am 34 now. I'm 34 now. I had to think a second there. And it's like, yeah, the game is good, but it doesn't scratch the itch, just like college football didn't scratch the itch.
Right. So
Derek, it's time. Where are we going to put this? Do you want to do a 5 or a 10-point scale on this bad boy?
Let's do Let's do a 10-point scale.
Okay, 10-point scale, Derek. Where are you putting Dragon Ball Sparking Zero?
Another question. Are we doing 0.5s, or are we going to do whole numbers? All right.
I don't care.
I feel like, again, while I wasn't as hyped for it as you are, I do acknowledge this is a good game. It does speak to a lot of Dragon Ball fans and enthusiasts, and like that have been with this property for ever since the 90s. So even probably back to Dragon Ball back in the day. So I feel like it's good, but again, with the shortcomings and just stuff that, again, like this, if it doesn't scratch, if it's not an itch to scratch, it definitely is docked lower for me, just because of that. Like, if it's not like Ghost or, you know, like Jedi Fallen Order or something like that, that just makes me want to turn on my game system every day that I come home from work and play it, then it's not going to matter. So I'm going to give this, it's going to be a fair score. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Wow. Okay.
So
I respect that. And it does go back to that itch thing. It's like, I don't feel like this is something that I look forward to at the end of the day or the end of the week that I'm going to play. But for what this game is, purely what this game is, I think it is a testament to the team that has made it. It is really, really good. And I do feel like anime games usually suck hardcore.
For sure.
And this game does not suck. It does have its issues, but the game doesn't suck. And thinking about like how I felt about it leading up to it, yes, it hasn't been a little bit of a letdown compared to what it was in my mind. Yes, but I don't know really any game that's actually lived up to what I built it up in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, I will give it an 8.5. I think it's strong. It's stronger than just a, you know, pretty good, but it's not perfect. Like it's not. And when I say 8.5, it's not close to a 9. Like I just don't feel like it's there yet, but I do like the game, and I think more people should get it and play it when your finances line up and everything.
Right. So
boom. there's our first review, guys. Let us know what you thought down in the comments below, because we want to know your thoughts and opinions about the content that we make here. Now, let's jump into our second topic of tonight. And that's the game of the year for 2024 so far.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that have come out this year, a lot of great games. We're going to talk about some of the ones that we've played, some of the ones that we haven't played that we think will be contenders, and then maybe even mention some of the games that might be considered as we go into this.
Right.
So, Derek.
Yes.
What are some game of the year contenders for you? And you can't use my list. I see you over here looking at the doc. Yeah, boy. You got to name other ones.
What? No. I can get one off that list. I can get one off that list because you know, you act like this game, you were all about this game, and not until I started playing it and talking to you about it that you guys gave it a chance. That's Astrobot.
True.
So I've been on this is a Derek-esque game, through and through, but it's like we said before, it's a love letter to PlayStation, you know, and just the sales is done. Like the DLC is dropping. Like I think the Wave 2 just hit today. So I haven't had a chance to play the speedrun levels just yet, but I will give them a shot soon-ish. Now that, you know, Sparking Zero, I think it's safe to say that I'm probably will put Sparking Zero on the back burner. But you know, Astrobot for sure. The troll in me wants to put Concord, but you know, obviously we're not going to do that. But yeah, Astrobot to me, I think is my definitive game of the year. It's definitely in the running for it. Now, will it win it? Who knows? Like stuff is we've been shocked before by like It Takes Two won game of the year, you know, and no one. I don't think anyone gave that a fair shot. It's like, oh, they acknowledged it was worthy of game of the year, but they never won. I don't think anyone expected it to win, and then it was just like, what? And now it's set Haze Light in a whole new stratosphere. So who knows? But I think Astrobot is definitely up there for me as like one of the top. Like it's probably top 3 for me.
Yeah, Astrobot is a phenomenal game. Like bringing a platformer that is not a Mario and making people love a game, like did it so well. I definitely want to go back, and since, you know, kind of got what I wanted out of Dragon Ball, I'm going to still play because I want to get to the super stuff and everything. But being able to enjoy that game, the creativity, the music, the level designs, the power-ups that make you think about the world in a different way, Astrobot is amazing. And then, like you said, it's a love letter to PlayStation. Being able to find all the different mascot bots throughout all the different levels makes you explore a lot more and see how the levels really interact with you. I think of like one of the first ones that pops out is I think it's the second level in the whole entire game where it's like the candy ice cream land, and how all of those little things just interact with you. It like so good.
It is.
And then you find your first secret level on that level as well. And just the things that they've put in there and the little nods, and then having the gotcha machines and the different costumes, and like there's so much to do. And then again, putting out more content for free for the people that are masochists and want to do the speed runs and the sacred symbol levels and all of that. Like that is awesome. And then including some titles that have popped up this year that a lot of people really liked, Helldivers 2, and then Stellar Blade into the game as well. Like they know what they're doing over at Team Asobi, 100%. Sure. And if Astrobot is not on like the Game Awards Game of the Year like contenders,
people will riot.
Yeah, I'm going to be very, very surprised and wondering what's going on over there. But you know, when you really think of it, like that is the big game for PlayStation this year.
Yeah.
Is Astrobot, but there is another game that really landed and made an impact, and that's Helldivers 2.
Yes.
With Arrowhead. And
Unintended?
Yeah, exactly. You see what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
Helldivers 2, like I put in a ton of time, and I know Murdoch, one of our watchers, listeners, he's still playing. Like I literally logged in on my Steam Deck and I saw Murdoch playing Helldivers 2. And I'm just like, all right, man, you keep going. And the way that game kind of took over was very impressive.
Yes.
Because I remember like when we started seeing it, I was like, oh, dope, this is awesome. Because I remember playing Helldivers 1 on the Vita, the Vita.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it lives.
Well,
In
not well.
different forms, it lives. And the
Oh,
Steam
whatever.
Deck
You
and
mean
the
you mean the better
Switch.
version? The better version in Steam Deck?
Anyway, the Vita is way more comfortable to hold. I'll tell you that. It's way lighter. And it had OLED before the Steam Deck did. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
It needs the games.
Geo Corsi tried, man. But Helldivers 2, these are people that did not know anything about 1, and I think Arrowhead handled it really well of getting people in there, that tongue-in-cheek like propaganda kind of feel to the game, which was in the first one as well, but really leaned into it with the messaging and the trailers that they put out. And then the gameplay was fantastic. So much fun jumping in, playing, and I remember playing with Yugi, playing with different people throughout my span as a Helldiver, and compared to like you have 2 different factions and everything, for anyone that doesn't know, like they felt so different, and you had to have different tactics to take them on. One, you didn't really have to worry about taking cover with the arachnids and everything. They just kind of swarmed you. And then the automatons, like you had to take cover. You had to think about lines of fire and all of that sort of deal. And then you have the crazy stuff that happens in the game where someone blows you up with a grenade or what, you know what I mean? And like planning your stratagems. And the reason why Helldivers did so well is because they listened to the community. Mm-hmm. Have they done it perfectly the whole time? No. And I do feel like they're trying to get back into getting more people into the game again, because I remember, dude, I literally followed an account on TikTok. They would literally give war updates several times throughout the day on like what the fronts were doing. It's like, oh, over on the Arachna side, we're working on this, make sure to go here. And then over on the automaton, like there were so many people that were interested and invested in this game. Mm-hmm. There was something that I haven't really seen in a very, very long time, if at all, really.
Yeah, that's fair. So, I mean, especially and it's rare that you see that community engagement anymore, like throughout the, because Xbox tried it with remember when Smart Glass tried to be a thing with the Xbox One launch, and they tried to do that with Dead Rising 3, try to incorporate, it's like, oh, you can drop this, and Battlefield 4, I think, was the launch game at the time. Like they tried to incorporate it, but it didn't follow through. But this is a different version of that. It's like, hey, we're going to give you and just feeling like it's something that Destiny could take a note from, you know what I mean? Because they tried to do it, but they failed at the way they tried to do it at, you know what I mean? Like, Helldivers like, oh, this is the war effort updates. It's like, man, if you got that in Destiny, like people I think would be more invested in it as a game and more invested in the story. Like I know whenever they release a new expansion, they tout the story of it, but people don't care about that. Like because they don't tell as good of a story as they used to back in the day. Like as Bungie, not as Destiny. Like as Destiny 1 story was trash. Like you didn't even know what was going on. So, but yeah, they, like you said, they do this. They did it right with Helldivers, and like you said, for like a good month and a half, it took the world by storm. Like it brought back like team based. Like of course, with battle royales, like I'm not saying it ever went away, but this made like talking out like tactics and whatnot with your team and like planning it out like before a mission. It brought that revival back to multiplayer.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you see all of these like cringy E3 trailers back in the day where it's like,
Ubisoft.
Like where the team was communicating with each other, and that never really happened. But in this, it's like, oh, I'm reloading, oh, they're moving here, let's ping over here, let's go get that. And it's like you actually had to work together as a team.
Correct.
And bringing free updates, I think, is great. You know, their season passes were pretty good as well, but being like, and this is a juxtaposition between Helldivers 2 being $40 and then Concord being $40 and
Yes.
dying before the second week.
Yeah.
People were actually invested in this because it actually is a good game.
Yeah.
It's not a reiteration of another game. It was actually being ingenuitive and doing something interesting for people to want to play.
100%.
So, Derek, what is another game that you think either that you've played or that should be on Game of the Year?
I think another one, safe to say, it's also this, you know, like I think Helldivers is a third party or second party exclusive or third party exclusive, I think you could say. This one also is, but I get it's only a matter of time before it comes to Xbox, and that's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So that one also, like, it, you know, came out the same month as Helldivers, but it came out the end of February, so it had enough time to breathe in between what Helldivers was doing and to do its own thing. This, like, again, I've not played the remake of like the 7 remake series. I know the third one's in development. Every time I see a gameplay trailer, I want to play it. Like, I've been enthralled with how Final Fantasy has looked since 15, honestly. So it's been one of it. I've never had a chance to just really sit down and just sink my teeth into it. Yep. But you know, like when 7 remake came out, it was like fantastic. It was like, you know, like name any kind of successful remake of the past decade, built from the ground up, really done with love and care. And apparently it's taking some liberties with the story. Like, it's like, you know, like I'm not going to go too much into it for those of you who haven't gotten into it or thinking about getting into this world, but they've taken some liberties with the story, changing it up a little bit for a modern age. You know, and remake came out, it did its thing, and now it did come out during COVID, so I think that hampered it a little bit in terms of sales wise. But Rebirth came out, and it just turned over what remake did on its head in a good way. Like, it just like everything from the battle system to how it looked, the detail to, like, just you name it, it just looked so much more polished. It just looked so much more like well done, in my opinion. Like, not to say that remake was bad, it was still a beautiful looking game, but I think remake was a test in the waters to see if there still was demand for this, even though, like, fans, you know, like there's been a 20 million Final Fantasy games. Obviously everyone has their own different one, but 7 is like the most popular one out there. So I think they were trying to be cautious by seeing, like, making sure that they were doing right by the fans, and once they realized fans loved what they did, like, all right, let's keep pushing that envelope. Let's see what else we can do with it. And I think fans were really receptive to how Rebirth was. So, and that just makes, I think that's going to be more exciting for the last game in the trilogy, how they're going to do this and how they're going to present it, you know, going forward. It'll probably be several years from now, probably when the PS6 is about to come out, but I digress. And I can't wait because, you know, Square Enix, you know, we talked about it a couple months ago, how they're kind of tired of being hampered by exclusivity. They're seeing how much extra money is being brought in by getting over on other consoles. So now they want to make more of a concerted effort to be multi-platform with their biggest games. So they want to try and be more inclusive on Xbox day one rather than just be a timed exclusive on PlayStation. So I can't wait for, you know, the Xbox players to finally get their hands on it, because I feel like they are definitely missing out on a well told story and well polished game. So I think Rebirth will be up there at the end of the day.
Yeah, because Final Fantasy 16 just came to PC last month, and that game didn't sell incredibly well because, again, it was a PlayStation exclusive. And being able to do day and day of PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, I think will definitely bring Square Enix a lot more profitability, because Square Enix, just like other Japanese publishers, usually have crazy expectations with sell numbers. And it's like, okay, when you've got, like, yes, I know Final Fantasy is a big franchise, but when you think about how many people have got a PlayStation 5, that limits your number exponentially. And then it's like, yeah, that's okay. Not everybody is going to buy, like, the adoption rate is not that big. It's not Breath of the Wild with the Switch, because everybody got the Switch and Breath of the Wild pretty much.
Right.
There was literally a point where more people had Breath of the Wild than they did Switches, because they were like, you know what I mean? So
Correct.
it's like, I do want to go back and play through Remake. I started it, but I had not finished it. I played maybe an hour or so.
Yeah.
But I know that the games are really good, so I definitely want to try that out. One that I haven't personally played, but I know is definitely going to be in the talks with many, many different publications, and of course the Game Awards that with Jeff Keighley, is going to be Black Myth Wukong.
Oh yeah,
like
1000%.
This game took everybody kind of by storm. The game looks amazing, but like I can't remember in a long time, other than, you know, Elden Ring, which we'll get to that one as later as well. But how many clips have I seen of Wukong on TikTok and on YouTube? It's like people were really enthralled with that. And then you have like the story of Journey to the West in this game. And yes, they did take some liberties to it, but the gameplay looks amazing and the graphics look so good. And like, I cannot see anyone kind of snubbing this one, to be honest. It's going to at least be a contender for Game of the Year. But Black Myth Wukong, I wish I played Souls games more, because I would totally play this, but I know I don't have the patience for it.
No, definitely not.
So, Derek, what's another one for you?
It just left me because I was thinking about it. Where was it?
Rugrats Adventures in Gameland.
Oh, you know, the Mecca right there, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think one that'll be a dark horse, and it's only, and with recent events, like, I don't know if you've been paying attention to what Ubisoft is doing with the studio or whatnot. Like this week, I know Kind of Funny's talked about it a little bit. I think one that they should, like, people will probably say, "Oh, this is just a charity because of what, you know, like what's, you know, the scuttlebutt," but I think Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown deserves to be like a hidden gem, dark horse candidate for Game of the Year, because in a world where we haven't had a Prince of Persia game in a long time, the first one we get a taste of is the remake, which is god awful, and then Ubisoft's like, all right, I guess it's not it, so let's scale it back and let's kind of, you know, go in the dark like Beyond Good and Evil 2 for the last 30 years. But and then they come out with this 2.5D adventure game with Lost Crown, and it looks phenomenal. Like, it looks a lot better, like the setting, like the story, the power-ups, you know, like everything about it just screams like well-polished game. And like with the studio, like there was rumors that they would disbanded the studio, but now I think they've retracted and say, oh, they're just working on other projects now. Whether they went to other studios to work on other projects or whatnot is, you know, TBD. We don't know that yet, but you know, there's been mum is the word on that for the time being. But I think they do deserve, and it, you know, again, you know, and I've said this before, like when we're ever talking Game of the Year, you're looking back at the list of games and you forget, like, because, you know, everyone's like, oh, like, you know, like after Christmas, like there's that turn of the clock where after Christmas, like you got all these games from this year that you were missing out on, you know, that you finally got a hold of as Christmas gifts. You want to play it, but then it's like, all right, what's going to be the new? What's going to start off the new year right with this? And this one came out mid-January, and it's like you forget that, you know, games released in January and February, and it's like, man, that did come out this year, like, and it feels so long ago. So I do think it deserves to be up there, at least. Like I said, I don't know if it'll be in the final cuts, but I do think it's probably a dark horse candidate for that final list of Game of the Year candidates at the Game Awards.
Yeah, I remember playing the demo of The Lost Crown, and the things that they were showing, the gameplay, I was like, okay, this is really interesting. The art style, the music, the dialogue, I was really enamored with it. And thinking about it, it's like, not only did we get The Lost Crown, but we also got the Rogue Prince of Persia in May.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Which was really weird. I didn't hear a ton about that one, but Lost Crown, I definitely think will be in the conversations. I know Tim Geddes is huge on The Lost Crown.
Oh
So
yeah.
I definitely feel like more people will be talking about it, and I want to jump in and play more of it just to kind of wet my whistle a little bit more than just the demo. But we'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
on that. For me, one of the games that, I haven't played it, but I know a lot of people, again, with Souls, like we had Shadow of the Erd Tree, the DLC that
Mm-hmm.
came out this year. And if it is not Black Myth Wukong, it is Shadow of the Erd Tree that was
Right.
showing up.
One of
The
those is bound to be there, right?
Yeah, bound to be there. And with Elden Ring winning Game of the Year, I feel like this is a good potential Game of the Year pick here,
Right.
because it did add a lot to the game, a lot of different things that enemies and all of that, more exploration. But yeah, Shadow of the Earth Tree, I think, is going to be a heavy hitter for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, like you said, Elden Ring won Game of the Year last year, so I mean, it's only right that the DLC, like you can almost make it's such a big expansion that it almost counts as a separate game in itself, right? So,
Elden Ring won 2 years ago. Baldur's Gate won last year.
dang, it has been wow, it has
Yep.
been 2 years ago.
Yep.
Woof. Okay. I am definitely living in an alternate timeline. So yeah. So, but regardless, Elden Ring won Game of the year it came out. So
Yes.
it's only right that it's DLC, which has been you can almost argue that it's reviewed just almost better than the actual base game.
Yep.
So like that it's going to be up there for Game of the Year contender.
Yep.
Another one I have that, again, I don't think people are giving it because it did gangbusters when it came out. Again, it came out the first quarter of the year. And I don't think, again, it's one of those forgotten games that people like, because again, it's a lot of just like in life, a lot of things, it's like the Johnny come lately. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the best movies that always drop around the Oscars or the Emmys, right? Because it's sort of like, all right, what's recency bias? What's that's Dragon's Dogma 2. Like it did gangbusters. I think it was critically well received more than the first one, in my opinion.
Yep.
It definitely dominated because it came out near the end of March, and it just dominated sales. That whole time it was out, like people were talking about it. I do think it not having that same mind share for the length of time it was out, because again, a lot of games have like a 2-week lifespan, right? Where not only in sales wise to make your money back, but also just like in terms of like gaming conversations, like the stuff that just sticks in your craw, the itch that you need to scratch, right? That's on average is like the first 2 to 3 weeks. And I feel like I think what does hurt it is like it did get quelled short, after about a 3-week span. But again, when it came out, it was the toast of the town when it came out. So again, it's like Lost Crown. I think it has a hidden gem, dark horse chance to make it the final cut. But I just want to give a shout out to Dragon's Dogma 2 because, like I said, it killed it when it came out. And again, us watching every time we saw a preview, it didn't. Obviously, we never got a hands-on preview build, but every time we saw a new trailer at whatever kind of showcase or whatever, it displayed well, and we were all just like wowed by it every time we saw it. I don't think we saw a bad trailer from it, so, and that was a testament to the game itself. So Dragon's Dogma 2 is a shout out for me.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think the combat in that looked super, super cool. I remember it was you, me, and Yugi watching some trailers earlier in the year, and it might have been the launch trailer, and dude, it was killer, like jumping on the dragon and doing all this kind of stuff. I think it might be knocked out by Velgard, Dragon Age Velgard, just because it's in that fantasy RPG genre. And again, with recency bias, I do feel like Velgard would probably get the leg up on that. And because Dragon Age the Velgard hasn't come out, we're not going to talk too much about it.
Yeah.
But Metaphor ReFantasio.
Dang it.
Dude, that game has been selling like crazy. Everybody that has played it is in love with it. I've even considered getting it so I can play it on my Steam Deck just to
Yeah.
try it out. You know what I mean? I need to check if it's Steam Deck approved or whatever. But dude, so many people are enthralled with this game, and I know it's like the people that created Persona 3 and like, but it's like even people that don't play these games are super, super into them. So
Yeah.
I feel like I can't remember. I know last week we reported on it, the sales numbers for it. It was something crazy. Seeing if we
Wasn't it
still
like
have it on.
5 to 10 million copies, and it's in the first day.
Um, a million copies in the
Oh,
first day.
yeah. Okay. I knew it was million. I didn't know how
Yeah,
many.
yeah.
So
So
that's
I
that
know.
persona influence, man.
Yeah, I know. Once I said it, you kind of reacted. Your thoughts, Derek?
No, I was just going because I was going to be another pick. I was going to have but yeah, like again, that persona influence reigns heavily, and like you see, like again, kind of like again, it's from software that did Shadow of the Earth Tree, Elden Ring, and Dark Souls, but like you can definitely tell like that influence is there. Like anytime From Software logo pops up, people are going to just immediately start
Yep.
pre-ordering that game. Doesn't matter. It could be a mobile game of some trash IP. People are going to pre-order that just because it says From Software.
Yeah.
Same thing with Persona, like the team who do the Persona series. Anytime that studio pops up, doesn't matter. Like this is obviously a new IP, but it has that Persona feel. It has that Persona just look to it, and aesthetic to it, and people obviously like we talked about a moment ago, did a million sales in a day. Probably
Yeah.
not even a full day, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Probably but it's a testament to what that studio does, the love and care that they put into their games. So do I think it'll be there at the end of the day? I think it'll get edged out just slightly, just because it's not Persona up there. Like I feel like, and it could probably go both ways. It's like they could give a testament to that. It's like, oh, it's not Persona, but it's just as good as Persona. Let's give it a fair shake. Or it's like, hey, it's not really Persona, and like this is the first in a new franchise, maybe. So maybe we give it up for RPG of the year, but we don't give it up for Game of the Year.
I don't know if they think of it that way though. Like there's so many things, like it's on Metacritic, it's sitting at a 93.
Wow.
User
Crazy.
score 9.1. So like, and it's literally like it's a must play. It's got like a must play on there. So for me, like I feel like it's going to get at least close to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very interesting. Atlas and I think it's Studio Zero is the ones that worked on this.
Yeah.
Congrats on, it just going crazy, and everybody that I've heard talk about it just absolutely loves it. One that like, I don't know how it works with a lot of places, but early access, some people include that, some people don't. But Hades 2.
I was thinking about that one too, because like you said, it's that one of that gray area. It's like, it's early access, so it's not technically the full game, but it also kind of is. So how do we gauge that? But continue.
But yeah, like Hades 2 come out, and like I know people were pretty hyped and excited about it, but I haven't really heard a ton from anyone since then. Compare that to Hades 1, where it did go through the same kind of cycle where it did come out in early access and then eventually released fully, but that was the year that it actually got judged. So that might be how they're doing it. It might not be in contention for Game of the Year. Again, this does depend on the publication and then how they run their
Correct.
decisions. But because of the love of Hades 1, I feel like Hades 2 will at least get thrown around.
Right.
Hades 1 was fun to play. I'm not huge on the rogue like games, but it was fun the little I played on like xCloud. So I do feel like Hades 2 at least be discussed, and maybe we see it from some places, but I don't think any major publication is going to give Hades 2 Game of the Year, but at least we'll be in discussion.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm kind of looking because I kind of ran out of ideas, and I'm kind of looking through, and nothing. I don't. All the other ones I would say, I don't think we'll end up getting Game of the Year. Like I think they're really good games. Like I know up there, like Echoes of Wisdom, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. I think will get nominations, but in other categories. I don't think at the end of the day that will be Game of the Year. So I know Silent Hill 2 is like I almost said Silent Hill 2, but again, it's like I think they only tend to have one remake nominated, and I think Rebirth will take that spot in their final 6 for Game Awards. So I don't know. We could see an upset, and Silent Hill 2 overtakes Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Like in some timeline, it's entirely possible, but I don't think so.
I don't think so. Like horror is such an interesting genre. I think it dominates this year in that genre because like all we've really gotten is like Until Dawn remastered,
which that one did not perform well.
Yeah. So it's like in that, yes, and there was like another Silent Hill that released earlier in the year as well. But I do think Final Fantasy Rebirth appeals to a lot more people than a horror game. And I know like it's done pretty well from what I've heard.
Right.
People are enjoying it, but I just don't think that it's going to hit like it should, but you know. Yeah, I do agree. I think those are kind of the ones that will hit there in the Game of the Year contention. Like you really think about it, like Space Marine 2 is like a AA game. I feel like Echoes of Wisdom is kind of AA. Like Princess Peach Showtime, not that good of a game, to be honest.
Yeah.
I wished it was. It had some interesting things to it, but it just didn't hit right.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's like we do have like Mario Party, which I don't think will win anything.
And we'll see what Mario and Luigi Brothership does.
Yeah. Batman Arkham Shadow, which I don't think a VR game will win anything like that. We do
until VR is taken seriously. No game will ever be up for Game of the Year.
We do get the Lake House. What is it?
DLC.
Came out. Yeah, it came out 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn remastered. Metro Awakening, which is again a VR. Try to see if there's anything else the rest of the year. This is November.
The only other one that could make some noise if done right, but it'll miss the cut for Game Awards. It'll be up for next year's Indiana Jones.
Yeah. But if it comes out then it's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anything
I don't know. They gave. I mean, again, it has to be a special game. Like it has to be a special game because they did give Smash Brothers Ultimate the following year a nomination in something. I don't think it was Game of the Year, but
that's Smash. You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's a
global phenomenon.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game. So those are our Game of the Year. And Murdoch brings up a good point. What's up, Michael? Skull and Bones. I want to kind of just look at the crappy games for the next few minutes that have come out this year so far.
Number one pick, Suicide Squad.
That's a good one. So we're no longer talking Game of the Year. We're talking the worst games. I don't have the
Razzies of the year, as you would say, because there's a movie category for the Razzies.
Yeah, the EA games.
Yeah. No, the Ubisoft games of the year.
Yeah. So Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
One of them. Suicide Squad.
Concord.
Like
Outlaws.
Trying to think of any other one. Those are like some, and what's crazy, those all had ridiculously sized budgets.
Oh yeah. So more money does not equal better production. More money equals more problems.
Yeah. Until Dawn. I don't know if I'd put in the same vein, but
it just had a rough launch. It wasn't like it was playable. Like it wasn't like a complete travesty.
Now, I just had it in my head. I'm trying to find it now. Once Human, that had a lot of issues with like the publisher and all of that. Hunters was pretty good. Star Wars Hunters.
Mm-hmm. Name any game dev that's had struggles this year that put out like a crappy game, like that's insert there. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, I'm on Hellblade 2.
I don't know if it was a bad game. It definitely wasn't. It just failed from a marketing budget, though.
Yeah, but like it didn't review well.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't review that great.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, South Park Snow Day. That game like pooped the bed.
I heard nothing about it, which probably is also a testament to
that
game, because it's like if you hear that, because when the first two games like came out, like Stick of Truth and Fractured But Whole, they came out and people were in love with that stuff.
So I feel like it's between Concord and Skull and Bones for the worst game of the year. One of the games are actually still functioning, the other is not. So who takes
it's only functioning because the Singapore government is not letting it die.
Yeah, and Murdoch, just by sheer will alone, which I still think the best moment of the year is when Murdoch was like, yeah, I'm not going to play it. I'm going to play Helldivers. I still think that's the NerdCave moment of the year. So, and again, there might be a game that comes out that's even worse than Concord or Skull and Bones. We still got a few more months in the year. But which one? Oh, and Suicide Squad. I feel like those are the three, like the top three worst games.
I would agree, but I would almost put Outlaws over Skull and Bones, because at least because Outlaws came out, and again, Skull and Bones was just a longevity thing. Like it was just like you needed to either do your business or get off the pot type deal. You know what I mean? And since the Singapore government wouldn't let it die, they were just like, all right, let's just get it over with, and fart in the wind and be done with it. And again, it didn't review terrible. Like it just wasn't a good concept. Whereas Star Wars, it was a huge IP by Ubisoft who desperately needed a W. And I forget who on Kind of Funny was talking about it, but it may have been Tim or Greg, one of the two. But Ubisoft was set up to have two knockout out of the parks for the fall: Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like we're just lined up to be two grand slams for Ubisoft to put them back on the map, to have them get a solid year, coupled with off the back of Prince of Persia.
Mm-hmm.
And Outlaws came out again. A whimper, barely play, and I shouldn't say it was broken, but the gameplay loop. And there are some people out there like, oh, it's fine, blah blah blah. Again, going back to our Dragon Ball Sparking review, if it doesn't scratch an itch, it definitely is a testament. Again, everyone's taste is subjective. I get that, but when you get some big personalities in the video game industry saying that, oh, this game there's just no fun to it. It's hollow, it's soulless. It's that's a testament. And I'm sure Disney looked at that and it's like, yeah, we can't have one of our biggest properties come out to a whimper. We don't do that around here, especially when Respawn is over here doing gangbusters with the Jedi series. And then they delayed Shadows. And we talked about it right before we went on air. They delayed Shadows, and now they're apparently and I looked at you before we went live. I'm like, did we just gloss over this when they delayed it? And it's like, no, this was how they announced it. They announced that there was a reduced price in their collector's edition because they canceled the season pass and the roadmap and whatever. They basically just said, whatever game comes out in February that's it. You don't get nothing else. And it's like, that's concerning, because this is Assassin's Creed Japan. The people who've been clamoring about this for over a decade, since Assassin's Creed has been a thing, and now looks like you're just going to put this out like Skull and Bones and just let it be. And that does not bode well, especially since Ubisoft is going all in on Assassin's Creed going forward, it looks like with so many different projects in the works. So I would almost put Outlaws over Skull and Bones, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with you, because Skull and Bones at least has a community, and you kind of know what you're getting with it. Outlaws, it was smoke and mirrors until launch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the trailers kind of made it like, oh, you know, it's pretty good or whatever.
Yeah.
But
basically this is another hey, we know you didn't get that not Bounty Hunter, but whatever Amy Hennig's game that was involving like Han Solo, like you know, like the Ruffians type deal. Like you weren't getting that, but this is the next best thing that you can get, and it's like, nope, not it.
That's like expecting candy and getting kale.
Right.
It's like not the same thing. Unknown 9 Awakening, like
that's a studio who's had that company has had major issues that just pretty much pooped out a game essentially.
Yeah, but RoboCop Rogue City, I'm looking at Metacritic. It has a 72 from like critic scores, which isn't that great, but favorite like user scores 8.1, and on Steam it has a 9 out of 10 on Steam.
Huh.
The people that really like RoboCop enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
But you know, like again, I don't think RoboCop is on the same scale as some of the other ones.
No. Alone in the Dark remake definitely was another one that was like terrible.
Yeah. Just because you have a big name actor on your game doesn't mean that it's going to be good.
Nope.
And I think that's something that people need to realize. It's like,
who was it? Was it the guy from Stranger Things?
Yes.
Okay.
Hank Hill. I can't remember his name from Stranger Things.
But he was also like Red Guardian and Black Widow.
Hamish McGee.
Yeah.
That's not his name, Derek. Herschel Walker.
No, that's a character in Walking Dead.
what is the dude? Let's see. Stranger Things sheriff. Jim Hopper. David Harbour.
Yeah, David Harbour. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there you go.
So
I'm like,
well, again, going not to beat a dead horse at Ubisoft, but going back to the last Ghost Recon they did, like they got John Bernthal in there. That did nothing for them.
But you juxtapose that with Keanu Reeves in
Cyberpunk,
and then getting Idris Elba in the DLC.
Yeah.
You know, like it did something really good for the franchise and everything. So,
but it's all about the company and your vision for the game. Not the actors should not be the ones making your games.
Yeah, exactly. And so that is our thoughts on the best games and the worst games of the year so far, because we still got a few more months, and I'm sure there's a Gollum waiting around the corner. Got him. Just to hawk up a loogie on us, guys. But we hope that you enjoyed this episode. This is a much different episode of the Nerd Cave News, where we reviewed Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and we talked about the Game of the Year contenders for 2024 so far, and I hope that you enjoyed it. We're going to try to do more of these where we talk stuff. We're gonna, yes, we love talking news, but we like talking video games as well. Getting into
this is what this whole channel was founded on.
Exactly. So we hope that you enjoyed it. We are about to do a review of Vinland Saga over on patreon.com/nerdcave, where you can go support us right now. Pick a tier that fits best for you. And we're going to be talking about our anime of the month, which is Vinland.
Anime.
So I'm excited for that. Guys, this has been Zach.
And Derek.
Have a blessed week. Bye-bye.